Shmaya. I want to thank Esther Ann Moshe Mishkowitz sponsoring in memory of her mother, Rebbetzin Rivka, and Eizwinik Alta Rivka Bas Yisrael, Allah HaShalom, as well as Rabbi Yitzchak Gersten and Meshpocha sponsoring in memory of his mother, Francis Gersten Fegalaya Bas Helman Chaim, Allah HaShalom. I want to note as well the Nadiv Yom coming up, and Met Hashem, that'll be tomorrow night. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehakol Nehiyeh Bidvaro. Amen. If I may share with you a Siyata D'Shmaya, an original Mahalech Legabe, a very Yesodistic Indian that pertains to this week's Parsha. Let's start with a Peladik Arashi in Yavamas Ayin Aleph Amud Beis. And the Gemara is going into a discussion wherein the parents cannot go ahead and be makar of a korban and participate in the korban Pesach. And the Gemara says, Rav Omer Kigon Shahayu Ovav Imo Chavushim Bebeis Hasurin Zokt Eili Garashi. They were incarcerated when B'Shas Asiya Mitzvos Milah Mutelas Aleim V'lo Al Acherim V'Ein Yichol Nasos is Pesach. So what happened? We're talking about the Korban Pesach. They had a Mitzvos Milah that's mutal upon them, the parents, to give their son a bris Milah. V'Ein Yichol Nasos is Pesach. They can't go ahead and be makar of the Korban Pesach. Shachot Shlichan Aleim Ashmina Kroshim Yotz B'Shas Achilo Milas Beno Me'akavto. So if they come out of their prison, the Bizman, the Achilo of the Korban Pesach, Milas Beno Me'akavto, the son's Milah, he didn't have a bris Milah to be ma'akev them, they're not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach. Psukim in this week's Parsha, Parshas Bo, V'chol Arela Yochabo, Chol Bene Chala Yochabo, included in that is Milas Achor V'avodim Akavtom. In Lechava Pesach, if you have a son, you have a child, or you have a servant in your household, and he does not have a bris Milah that's ma'akev you cannot go and participate in the Korban Pesach. So many Achronim here are bothered. Peladik Rashi. Rashi says, B'Shas Asiyah of the Korban Pesach, Mitzvos Milah Mutelas Aleihem V'lo Al Acherim. The mitzvah Milah is mutal on whom? Kagon Aviv Imo, on the father and the mother. Even though the end of the Rashi says Milah is Beno Me'akavto, the way Rashi sets it up, Kagon Aviv Imo Chavush Beis Asurim, the way Rashi's learning, that mitzvah Milah is mutal on the parents. Milah holds back both parents from eating the Korban Pesach. And the obvious difficulty is, Marsha, what happened to Kedushin in the first parak, which happens to be the longest parak in all of Shas, our first parak of Kedushin, and we have the Gemara in the bottom of Chavtes and Aleph. The Gemara state that Vayomel Avram Esitzah Beno. What do we have? Kasher Tzivo Solo Kim Kasher Tzivo Solo So. How do we know that a mother is not mechuyeves in Milah's Beno from the miut of Kasher Tzivo Solo So? Taisus asked the Kasha. Taisus read, and now the Rishonim, the Ramban, the Ritva, many get into the discussion. What do I need? A miut. In the end of the day, the Gemara is telling us, a woman is exempt from any obligation. How can you tell me this is a siba, reason to disallow the mother from partaking of the Korban Pesach? In the end of the day, it's only the father who has an obligation to give his son a bris Milah. So that's when there's a problem. But the mother doesn't have an obligation b'chlal. So the Yavetz of Yaakov Ebden says, well, she's obligated to participate in many of the achanas of the bris, and that's similar to how many understand Mishmar Chaim and others that Taisus read that it's not mitzvah because even at night when you can't actually do the bris Milah the way we paskin, well, you can still take care of all the achanas and be macham the water and take care of setting up the Suda, v'chulei v'chulei. In the end of the day, many have this kasha. The Marsha is the kasha on this Pella Dikarashi. We have not only the Marsha, not only the Yavetz who addressed it, the Sefer Bris addresses it. Rabbi Ron and the Sefer Masam Chalev Simon Yud Aleph addresses it. The Archaner addresses it. The Heil Gabri Nezda, the Sukkot Sheva Rabbi, and Yoredei Simon Shin Yotes addresses it. Many other Achrayim all asking the Pella Dikarashi in this Rashi. How can you tell me that a son not having a bris Milah is ma'akev a mother when a mother has no obligation b'chlal to give a son a bris Milah? So it's not Mamash and Yoni, the Yom of this week's Parsha, Parshas Bo. Marsha says a very bekitza dikateret. Since the mother is obligated in Korban Pesach, Milah, this fact of the son of the mother not having a bris milah will be ma'akefer. Now that needs a beer. Says a gavaldiga sefer Yonas Eloi Mathin Kuncheris Siman Lamed Gimel. Rav Yonah Karpilov, the famous Eloi from the Mir Rachman Litzlan, was killed at a young age. The Yonas Elam writes in Siman Lamed Gimel, based on Ramban, but based on the Yesod of the Aflo, when the Gemara says that v'chi lesli le'avua machayve beidina lememale shenemar himalachav kozach. There's a chiv on all based it. So even though it says machayve beidina lememale, the Aflo learns that it's lavdavka based and it's everybody. Everybody's mechuyev. Everyone's mechuyev, but it doesn't hold them back from Korban Pesach. Yeah, but by the mother, where it's her achraya, sof kosov, it's her child, she's held more liable. It still needs a beer. In the end of the day, she's not liable. So the Maharsha is telling us, but she's mechuyev in Korban Pesach, and anyone who's mechuyev in Korban Pesach, it's going to hold your son back. And that's very esoteric, very cryptic. What does the Maharsha mean? If she's not mechuyev to give her son a bris milah, she's not mechuyev. So now that they have a Korban Pesach, what's the hesber in the Maharsha? So perhaps we can understand the Maharsha as follows, and I saw afterwards a Sturmbach understand similarly in his Sefer Moedim Azman Achel Gimel Siman Reish Laman Aleph. There's also many Torah, many other shtiklach. Steipler has a shtikl. There's a lot written about this Rashi, but Sturmbach says along the same lines, and that is that the chiddush of the Maharsha is that it's not a din in Milah. Ein a chanami al kedushin chavtes of an aleph. From the perspective of dinei Milah, a mother is exempt. Kasher tzivo so elokim v'lo tzivo so. She is not mechayeves to give her son a bris milah. But the chiddush of the Gezeirus HaKosim of Korban Pesach in this week's parsha is that the Korban Pesach dinim are mechayev, that if you have a child in your household or a servant in the house, and Milah's banav avodah mekapto, and they not come out, they weren't given a bris milah, that's going to hold you back from the achilas Korban Pesach. It's a chiddush in the Gezeirus HaKosim. Okay, Sa'ad Khan needs a beer. We all explain the what. It's not a din in Milah. Al dinei Milah shitaka is exempt. It's a din, a chiddush akro. The Gezeirus HaKosim is a chiddush in a dinei Korban Pesach. It's a new bazun or a din couched in the context of dinei Korban Pesach. Okay, so that at least could explain why a guy also is not allowed to go ahead and eat the Korban Pesach. For this Milchas Chinuch and in Mitzvah Yud Zayin, Taisus Arash asks a similar kasha on himself. Rav Gifter addresses in Pite Mincha and many others from the Minchas Chinuch. Frakti Minchas Chinuch on the Smak L'Chayra. If you're going to tell me that there's a separate mitzvah that a guy is not allowed to eat from a Korban Pesach, how come it's not the eighth mitzvah, the Zayin mitzvahs? We have Zayin mitzvahs, Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet, Avim Menachai Berkas Hashem Gezel Dayanim, and the big three Gilei Rayis Avodah Zarah Shvichus Damim. Why not add that a guy is not allowed to eat a Korban Pesach? L'Chayra again. How would we be Miyashi the Minchas Chinuch? Al Dinei Akum. It's not one of the Zayin mitzvahs. It's not a din in an akum. It's a din in Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach is machayiv. A guy can't eat from this meat. The Korban Pesach is machayiv. A woman who has a child in the house without a bris milah cannot eat of this meat. So then we establish the what? What lemaisa is the hesber? So the Phineas night of the hesber could be as follows. We're siyata d'shmaya, and let's start with a very fundamental question, and that is that we have all sugya at the beginning of Maseches Krisis, a whole Gemara, whole Masechta based on this. We have so many lavin in the Torah that bring with it a chi of kares. We only have two asays. Only two asays out of all the Ramach mitzvahs asay. Shesam mitzvahs los asay. Many cases of kores. When it comes to the 248 positive commandments, there are only two positive commandments that carry with it a penalty. If you didn't eat the Korban Pesach, chayiv kores. My first pasuk this week's Parshas Bo. If you didn't go ahead and give yourself a bris milah, then you're chayiv kores. Ayin the sugya kedushin chavtas manaf. Why? What's the tzana shav? Out of all the 248 mitzvahs I say, these are the only two mitzvahs that carry with it a chayiv kores. It needs a hesber by side. What's the omek kavana? Perhaps we could get into the Torah's kavana on our kefi miyat sechli and be matziyah and broach a possible mahalach. So perhaps the idea is as follows, based on a Meshech Chochmah. Meshech Chochmah is writing in Parshas Chukas, Meir Simcha Meshech Chochmah L'Torah, Parshas Chukas, Perk Yates, Pasuk Chaf. Right, so Meir Simcha. If you look at Parshas Chukas, you see there are two distinct narratives that are juxtaposed. One says someone who is Tomei Meis and he walks into the Mishkan in a state of Tumah, he is Chayiv Kores. And right afterwards, I have a similar incident. Somebody who is Tell me, Mace. And he walks in the base of Mikdash with his tumah still intact. He didn't purify himself. He wasn't Makadish Mataras Atzmo. Then he's Chayav Kares. So Meir Simcha is bothered. Why do I need two parshas? Just tell me, you go into the Mokum of the Shechina in a state of Tumas Mace, Chayav Kares. He says there are two in Yanim. What are the two in Yanim? The Mishkan is the place where you connected to the Shechina. Mishkan Nosh and Shechina. It's where you came to be Neskari to the Shechina, just like Ali the Regel. There are two aspects to a Mishkan. The Mishkan accentuated and highlighted the idea of you connecting to the Shechina in the Mishkan. What was unique about the Beis Hamikdash? That's what Klal Yisrael came together. Ali and the Regel was what? God's Klal Yisrael came together to unite in the Beis Hamikdash. We all gathered together in the Beis Hamikdash. It was able to encompass us all together. Mitzvos Ali and the Regel. Where can we have shleimus? We can only have shleimus, as the Shem Yishmuel and Shoftim points out. Dinei Arvis, Kol Yisrael Revim Zebazesh, Shvus Aleph was in a Schanish when only when we crossed over every yardin to go into Mitzraim, we had a Gaval, the Milah, the Mechult in Yisrael. Yutes, at the beginning of Perek Yutes, Vayichan Shom Yisrael Negadar Kisha Chabalei V'chad. It's only Kisha Chabalei V'chad. When we Guf Echad, only when we entered, crossed the threshold, we were in the Gufa Karka. That was Ma'ached us. The Beis Hamikdash was Ma'ached us. That's when we got the Gavaldic state of Achdus. So Meir Simcha says there's a kores where you cut off your own Yachas Ishi, Yachas Prati between you and the Eibishter, and there's a Bechin of kores when you cut off, sever the ties between you and Klal Yisrael that as a unit, as an Am, connects to the Eibishter. What emerges l'chayra from the Meshech Chochmah is as follows. There are two relationships we have. Everybody has his or her own unique one-on-one relationship. Yachas Ishi, Yachas Priti, between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you mess up, and that unique relationship, Yechayev Kares, there's a relationship of outside of the individuals, both in Klal Yisrael as an Am is connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you take yourself out of that Am, then there's a Bechin, an aspect of Kares, Tumas Meis, you walk into the Beis Hamikdash, and you defile, you tarnish the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, you cut yourself off from the place that connects Klal Yisrael together, Aliyah L'Regel, we come together with Achdus, and Eretz Yisrael, which unites us, Mi Kam Chayisrael Gayechad, where? Not in the Mishkan, only Ba'aretz in Eretz Yisrael, you cut yourself from relationship of the Am and Milah, that's another aspect of Kares. The Feiner, now we have two in Yon. There's a Kares of cutting yourself off from relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's that going? What's going to bring a Kares? Mitzvos Milah. Why? Because Mitzvos Milah is saying, I'm proud to be connected, to be an Evet, to the Eibishter. Writes the Sforno and the Cheskuni and Parshas Lech Lecha. Writes the Maral Goraria in this week's Parshas Bo, Perkid Beis. Milah is the sign, the stamp that I engrave and bend into my physical anatomy, that I engrave into my physiological makeup, that proudly declares, I'm an Evet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wherever I go, I belong to Hashem. Lahavdil, a shepherd wants to say, these flock, these sheep, cattle, livestock belong to me. What do? You brand them. You brand them and you engrave. They belong to me. Lahavdil, Rachman Atzlan, Nazi Germany. Brand them on the number of, they belong to us. What is Milah? Milah is a stamp that says, whatever you do and wherever you go, you always have a reminder, you're an Evet, a proud Evet, you're in Hashem's army. That is Bris Milah, Mamela. It's very geschmack. Menachas Mem Gimel Amar Beis. David HaMelech is in the Beis HaMerchatz. He doesn't have talis, tefillin, he doesn't have anything. He looks down. I have Milah. Wherever I go, 24/7, 365. You got Milah, I'm connected to Eibishter. You don't do Bris Milah. You show you're not interested in being connected to Yachas Ishi, Yachas Prati with the Eibishter. Mamela Yechayev Kares. Which Kares? The Kares of the individualized Kares. But then there's the Korban Pesach. What's the Korban Pesach? Pesach writes the Maral in the Rosh Hashanah Sagodo. Korban Pesach is done like a Korban Tzibur. Kiknuf Yodomi. You have to eat it together with the Tzibur. It's the only Korban that's got to be eaten. Haloch l'maisa with a Chabura. Chol etzem lo sishro. You're not allowed to break any bones. It's got to be whole. It's got to be sholei. Tzli. What's the idea of tzli? Roasted. Lock in all the juices. Lock in all the flavor. It's all about shleimus. Etzem lo sishro. Don't break any bones. Why? No, sir. Don't leave any other. You have to eat it as a Chabura together, and it's got to be sholem. You got to eat every last piece. You can't break any bones. Why? It's all about shleimus. The Achdus of the Yam. Everyone's got to be together. So the Feiner Pesach is that what? Now that we're formed as a united Am, together as an Am, there's a separate Bechina of not only do we each have a Yachas Ishi between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bein Chol, Bein Koncha, Bein Barecha, but once you make yourself part of the Am, as an nation, Klal Yisrael is united and attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you don't need to come to Pesach with a Chabura with other people, you're saying I'm not part of the Achdus Am, and Milah, I'm not interested. And thus Yechayev Kores, which Kores? Like Ramei Simcha, the Bechin of the Kores of the Am uniting with the Kodesh Ruchas. Now it's very geschmack. Rashi cites Psukim Yechezkev At Aaron Veria. We were unclothed, we were lacking any mitzvahs. Hashem says, I'll give you a Dam Pesach Dam Milah. I'm going to give you 2 mitzvahs. Why are these the mitzvahs to get out of Mitzraim? The Phineas, I think it's poshit. You want to get out of Mitzraim? Show me. You don't want to be an Evet Paro. Mekanal Habi, you'll be an Evet Hashem. How do you show you're an Evet Hashem? Stamp something that 24/7, 365. You'll never again ever be able to remove it, to jettison it from your midst, and that's Bris Milah. That's the Cheskuni Sforno. That's the Maral. You are proud Evet Hashem. That's Bris Milah. But now what? You got to be machid with the Am. I'm not taking out individuals from Mitzrayim. Eibishter says I'm taking out individuals who united as an Am. I'm taking you out as an Am from Mitzrayim. So you got to eat the Korban Pesach. And what? Mitzvos says b'damayich chayi. The Me'urav and Ba'adodi. The 2 bloods are mixed in because it's all the same Indian. Uniting with the Kodesh Ruch Mitzad the Yochanan, uniting with the Kodesh Ruch Mitzad the Rabbi. It's got to be together. And now it's very geschmack l'fi'aniyas daiti. Who's the one to bring Klai Yisrael together to be Mavasa the Gula? When we finally can be zeicha to the Gevaldige Achdus of uniting with Hashem like never before, uniting with an Am like never before. Eliyahu Navi, the Mavasa Gula. When does Eliyahu Navi come and visit us? Only 2 times. Number 1 by a Bris Milah. Number 2 by Leil Seder, by Korban Pesach, Shulchan Aruch. Why dafka these 2 times? Eliyahu Navi Gevaldige Mavasa Gula. Now you're tasting and getting a glimpse of what's going to be the loss of Eliyahu Navi. The Mavasa Gula says what? Who happens to be a Gilgal. He's Pinchas Eliyahu, the Gilgal of Yitzchak. Yitzchak 208, Pinchas 208. Ramami Pada Gilgal and Shomasos Kufan Hey. So Eliyahu Navi is what? His tefillas Mincha Eliyahu tefillas Mincha Brachas Vav on base. Yitzchak is Mesakin Mincha Brachas Chavav on base. Yitzchak is the first one who gets a Bris Milah on day number 8. Eliyahu Navi is the one who visits us by the Bris Milah. Yitzchak is the first Ben of the first Av. Eliyahu is Tafkid is Malachi Gimel Chav Gimel. Hey Shalei Baba Sabonim Leibonim Balavaisa. It's mamish all together. Yitzchak is born on Chodesh Nisan. Yitzchak Shal Pesach. Yitzchak Bris Milah. And what's that? Eliyahu Navi now comes by Bris Milah, and Eliyahu comes Pesach. What Pesach? The 2 bloods mixed up together. That's the achdus that we want to have. And Milah, now we understand the Marshal. What's this Geseir Sakos of Chiddush that it's a din of Korban Pesach? I think it's a steer in Minei Bay. You're going to eat the Korban Pesach when you have people in your household who don't have Bris Milah. That's a steer of the whole mushag. Kefi Devarenu Kefi. What emerges from the morals Rosh Hashanah, it's all about the achdus of the Am. You can't join with the Am if you're a person who doesn't have the Indian of what you have to. Who do you join? You join Avodim to the Am. But if someone in your household doesn't have a Bris Milah, it's not a din of Milah. Als Dine Milah, the woman is potter from giving her son a Bris Milah. But Als Dine Korban Pesach, it's a steer of Minei Bay to what the Omek Indian and Korban Pesach, which is Ma'achid the Am. If you have someone in your household, the son who doesn't have a Bris Milah, yes, you're a mother. And you're not obligated in Dine Milah. But in Dine Korban Pesach, if you don't give your son a Bris Milah, what are you doing? You can't eat the Korban Pesach. The whole thing of the Korban Pesach is, I'm taking all the members of my household, we're Ma'ached, Ovdei Hashem, coming together as Ovdei Hashem. We're all part and parcel of the larger collective Am. But if your son doesn't have a Bris Milah, even if you're not the Mechuyev, but someone's in your household, and you're not giving him a Bris Milah, it's a steer Minei Beit, although your son Korban Pesach, it's a din in Korban Pesach. Not a din of Milah. That would explain the Marsha. It's a din of Korban Pesach. That would explain the Mechaschinach answering that kasha on the Smag as well. And the Taisus Arash. That's why it's not a separate 8th mitzvah. The Zayin mitzvah B'nai Noach. It's not a din in Hilchos Akum in Hilchos Goy. It's a din in Hilchos Korban Pesach. Why? Because Korban Pesach is taking people who already proudly stamped themselves as Ovdei Hashem. And now that you stamped yourself as a proud Eved Hashem by giving yourself a Bris Milah, or by ensuring and guaranteeing that everyone in your household has a Bris Milah, now unite all the Yechidim together to the Am al Yedei Korban Pesach, mix the 2 bloods together, Mitzvos with Amayach. That's what's going to engender Yitzchak from Mitzrayim. Those are the 2 mitzvahs say that of Kores. You don't do Milah, you sever the tie, the Yachas Ishi between you and the Eibishter. Pesach, you sever the tie between you and the Am that Milah connects to the Eibishter. The only 2 mitzvahs say carry with it a Chi of Kores. Has burned the Marshav, a Gevaldige Nacht, and a great rest of the week ahead.